Welcome back to the What I Love About Belle podcast with Hillary Cole. And we actually have Hillary Cole back, first podcast of the year. She's back from all of her travels. Yes. Welcome, Hillary.
Thank you. It's good to be home until next week.
Our last podcast, we had winemaker John Hazak share with us, the 2020 wines and his impression of those, which was very positive. Mm-hmm. And what is your take on those?
Your timing is uncanny. We actually just got scores back from a couple critics on 6 or 7 of the different wines, and really happy that the same impressions that we've had of the 2020, that the lessons of 2017, being able to use those lessons in 2020, and our impressions that the wines turn out really, really great. And even without the challenges of 2020, these wines would still be wonderful. But when you put them in the context of the challenges that there were to overcome that vintage, it's even more extraordinary. So we just got our scores back. We're thrilled that they're all mid to high 90s, and just really happy to see that. I'm really happy to see, again, those lessons from 2017 pay off in 2020, regardless of what a challenging vintage it was. For us, for our part, we still managed to put out a vintage that we can be proud of and that fits in the portfolio of our, in our library, that won't be like, there. And then there was this vintage.
Yes.
It will fit in seamlessly with the quality that we shoot for.
Wonderful to hear.
See, January was my annual trip to France. We're going from Paris to Champagne and back to Paris, and had a great time. It was a lot more wintry there this year than it has been the last couple years. So it's much colder, much more rain, but still such a great. It's still France, right? But what I was not prepared for was to come home and live in a tsunami for the next 3 months. Like, yes. It has been a wet winter, so much rain. And it's funny because the last couple of years, there's been like random decisions that I've made, for the winery that's just been like, well, we're in a drought, we're not gonna have to worry about that. And then as soon as those decisions get put into play, it's like,
we have to worry about that.
Exactly, we have to worry about that. So it's been, super wet winter. But heading back to Chicago again next week to do some dinners out there with some of our clients, and back to France actually next month for our cruise with some of our wine club members in Bordeaux. So really, really excited for that. I'm excited to kind of share the Bordeaux region with our members who are going. Bordeaux is one of my favorites. With what we do here in Napa, there's so much crossover, and it's really interesting to see some of the reactions that Bordeaux is taking, in reaction to climate change, and kind of helping to lead that charge with the wine industry, with the varieties that we work with, in terms of like Cabernet, Merlot, and so on. But I'm very excited to be sharing that with them. And then next year in November will be a cruise in Burgundy, going from Burgundy to Provence. So lots of exciting things.
Yes, so those details are out, so wine club members can take a look and hop on the train there.
Hop on the train. There's actually, for the one in November, if you book, it's a $400 per person deposit, that if you pay that deposit by May 31st, they have an incredible deal where you book the deposit or do your booking and pay your $400 per person deposit by May 31st of this year. Again, the cruise is in November of 2024. And you either get $1,000 per person off your cruise, or you get a free land trip, because the cruise is bookended by a 3-day land trip. So there's a 3-day land trip in the beginning and a 3-day land trip at the end in Geneva and I believe Lyon, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. I know Geneva is definitely one of them. But if you book and pay your $400 deposit by May 31st, you either get one of those land trips for free, which are valued at $1,400 and $1,800, or you get $1,000 off your cruise, which I think is an incredible deal. So very excited for that one as well. But let's see, as far as the summer goes, hoping that we're not going to have as rough of a summer as we have winter, and hoping that it's not going to be anything like next year also, or like last year. But we've got our bottling coming up in July for a couple of the wines that we haven't bottled yet, since our last one was in March. So wine club members, that's another thing. For our wine club members, we can host up to 12 members in 2 different time slots on both of the bottling days, July 5th and July 6th. So come in and kind of like join us for bottling and see how that whole process goes. Because, we kind of think of it like, oh, it's just another day in the cycle of, a grape becoming a glass. And so we kind of it's just another day for us. But I think back to like the very first time I saw a bottling line, I was like, whoa, so I think it's kind of, it'll be fun to be able to share that and let people see how that process works. So that's in July. And then we roll right into harvest after that. So
busy season. Well, it certainly is just beautiful in Yountville. Spring is here, like you were saying. The winter was just a long one for many. So we...
my backyard looks like a jungle right now.
All of a sudden, the grass is growing.
All of a sudden. And, I have a German Shepherd, right? Fritz is very tall. And a Siberian Husky also, who looks like a Pomeranian next to Fritz, But all this rain, and, you're not able to mow while it's raining like that. But about a week ago, I was outside, and I was just like, it seemed like overnight. My grass is literally taller than Fritz is, which is, I'm really not looking forward to mowing that. I'm like, maybe I should just hire someone for that.
Yes.
But it's good to, it's beautiful. It's beautiful green grass, which I haven't seen back there in a while because of the stupid droughts. But yeah, it's been an interesting winter so far. And I noticed, what got me thinking about that was when I got to the winery this morning. Usually I always do like a walkthrough because I have a hybrid schedule with not always working at the winery. And when I come back on my Tuesdays, I always like to kind of walk through the tasting room, walk through the barrel room and the tank room, and also out in the vineyards and everything, and just kind of like get regrouped and get re-engaged here on the property. And I was noticing when I was walking around this morning out on the north lawn, all the flowers out there just smell incredible. Like they are so fragrant this year. And, last year it was so hot. Yes. And not, obviously we didn't get the rain that we did. And so they just weren't as fragrant last year. My goodness, this year they're so perfumed. It's beautiful. We do have our next vintage of sparkling wine should be here any day now, which is good because we're down to our last few cases of the Blanc de Noirs. So looking forward to our next sparkling wine, our Chardonnay, which has been, it's been really upsetting to a lot of people that we've been out of our white wines. But the Sauvignon Blanc will release in May. Chardonnay will release in October, so we're almost there. And that Sauvignon Blanc will go out in the May allocation for those of our members who are in the red and white clubs. But I highly recommend that if you're one of those people who needs your Sauvignon Blanc and your Chardonnays for those hotter days, or if you're just more of a white wine drinker, stock up because there's only 200 and some odd cases of the Sauvignon Blanc and only 300 of the Chardonnay, and those are 6-packs. So it's actually only like 150 cases of the Chardonnay, and those go quick by the time Wine Club gets a hold of them. So for those of our members who like to make sure that you always have those, I highly recommend you stock up. And for those of our clients who aren't necessarily members, I definitely recommend stocking up once the club has run next month, or consider joining our club to make sure that you always have first access to that and as much of it as you like. So that's another thing coming down the pike is, woo, we're releasing the Sauvignon Blanc, and it's already sold out.
Yes. Get your hands on it.
Yes, exactly. But the good news is, while you're making your summer plans and everything and deciding where you'll go while you're visiting Napa Valley, if it does end up being a brutal summer like last year, we've got the 4 indoor tasting spaces, I guess 5 if you count the old one, and it's in, it shares the same space as our barrel room, so it's cooler. Like you will not be sitting out in the 110-degree scorching heat, and I love walking in here in the summertime because like that temperature change from outside to in here, it's so refreshing. So while you're planning your summer vacations this year, if you're heading to Napa, we're on Talk, or you can go to our website at bellwine.com. Or, again, find us at Talk or on Talk, or give us a call. But all of our appointments are private and by appointment only. We try to accommodate walk-ins when we can, but that's not always feasible. But summer is coming, and those appointments are filling up. So definitely recommend get your appointments set on the books. And of course, if you ever need anybody who ever needs help with like where to go, what to do, other wineries to go, where to eat, where to stay, like always just give us a call. It's one of the things that we're here for, is to help kind of give that concierge service to you.
Well, it's certainly beautiful in the Napa Valley, and Bell is a hidden, special treasure for that wine connoisseur coming to Napa Valley. Bell is a must. And so as we end this podcast, what do you love about Bell?
I think one of the things that I love so much about this winery is our focus on education, not only in hiring, people who are highly educated in the topic of wine, but also encouraging further education. And one of the, we talk about different projects that are going on here all the time. One of the projects that I'm working on now is writing a curriculum to hopefully partner up with some of the wine schools, but writing a curriculum about all the single clones that we do, because of course Bell is Napa's leading researcher and producer of single clone Cabernet Sauvignon, and again that clone concept is something that we think of more closely related to the Burgundian varietals, to Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And a lot of, even very seasoned connoisseurs don't necessarily understand what the clone concept is or why it matters. There's each of the clones, whether you're working in Cabernet or Chardonnay or Pinot Noir or whatever your variety is that you're working in, each clone brings a very specific characteristic to what's in the glass. I could have 100% Cabernet Sauvignon but it still usually is going to be a blend of several different clones, and each clone brings a different aspect and brings a different characteristic. With us really deconstructing that and bottling them on their own, you really get to understand, where do the florals that I sometimes get in Cabernet come from? Where do the herbaceous notes come from? Where do the peppery notes come from? And you really get to, when they're bottled singularly, understand like, oh, this aspect of, my favorite Cabernet Sauvignon probably comes from this clone. There's probably a fair percentage of this clone and a little bit of this clone. And so, just that focus on education and really helping people walk out of here with knowledge that they can apply, again, not just to what they're drinking from Bell, but to what they're drinking, out of any wine. And so I'm really I'm excited to be creating this curriculum and this course, and it's something that we kind of already do here at the winery with our single clone tasting. There is an option to come in and do a tasting where every single one of the wines will be a side-by-side tasting of one of our clone selections. We work with 7 different single clones, and so kind of just taking that tasting and really expounding on it to create this curriculum, and really, push the message that Bell is, yes, we're a beautiful property, we're fun to come in and experience the tastings and everything, but we're also very, very engaged with wine education. And that's something that's very important to us, which me as a consummate nerd, of course it's one of the things I love.
Well, safe travels to you, Hillary, and cheers to spring at Bell.
Thank you.
For more information, give us a ring or visit our website, bellwine.com.